Cheers and welcome to day 14 of the Hopeful Skeptic Coffee Chat, where we talk about all things God, philosophy, and religion. I invite you to sit back after getting your favorite beverage. Mine is obviously coffee. And think about today's question. Today's question is, does the evidence get us to an answer? Over the last 2 weeks of these videos, we've touched on this topic, but the evidence that we're referring to in this question is the evidence for the existence of God or the evidence showing that there is no God. And does one of those sets of evidence get us to an answer of yes, there is a God, or no, there is not a God? And I think in short, if I was going to sum it up and just end the video right now, I'd just say no, move on with your life. But if I give it a second to elaborate, or if you'll give me a second to elaborate, I don't think it's that straightforward. Because as many of you have been helping me see, when we think about this word faith, what does that mean? I think it means there is a spectrum on one end where we would say faith means religious faith, and even the faith of like, I don't see how this is going to work out, or I don't see evidence for this thing being true, but I have faith, or even blind faith or blind trust that this is true or this thing is going to happen. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you'd have something like, I have faith in the law of gravity, or I have faith that I exist. Things that in one way you can prove, but if you really push them, you technically can't even prove something as simple as you exist, that you're not actually just an AI from an advanced civilization, that you're not in the Matrix. We can't actually prove that, but we all believe, 99.99 repeating of us believe we actually exist. And so we would say maybe we can call this proof, but in reality it's still technically faith. Now, so why do I bring up faith? Well, in the question, does the evidence get us to an answer? Well, what do we need in order to get to an answer? What would the evidence be in order to get us to an answer? Do we have an answer for that? So for me, if the example of God ripping up the heavens and saying, hello, I am this deity and this is what I require from you, things that I've said I really would love to see, and that would be proof, right? The faith that is on the same level playing field as the belief that I exist, right? The evidence gets you so far that it is in the same hemisphere, same ballpark as the faith needed to believe you exist or that you're not in the Matrix, right? I would say that is in that category. But is that what we need in order to make a decision, to get us an answer? Well, a big part of this channel is trying to figure that out. So let me pause for a second and say, what do you think? Does the evidence get us to an answer? Let me know down in the comments. Now, I started out by saying no, and I still would say no, it doesn't get us all the way. But I think it gets us within striking distance. So on that scale, again, where over here we'd say blind faith and over here we'd say the faith that we would call proof, where on that spectrum do you personally, or do I personally, need evidence or reason in order to say that's enough to draw a conclusion or an answer? And to be honest, I think that's a little bit different for everybody. A lot of people are honestly, in my opinion, way too far this way, where they don't need any evidence. They need the evidence that my parents told me this was true one time, and therefore I have faith. Other people are so far on this side that really, how do you believe anything and you can just call yourself a proper skeptic, which when I say I'm a hopeful skeptic, I'm not using that term, even though it is that word. Where do we need to fall in order to say we have an answer? Well, for starters, I think we need to have enough understanding of both sides, the reasons to believe, that God exists and the reasons to believe that no, God does not exist. And then we have to weigh those and say, okay, if we're going to give each a probability of being true or not, which one is more probable? And then from there, we can say, is that enough? So if there's a 99% chance that one of these is true and there's a 1% chance that the other one's true. Okay, me personally, I'm good with saying that's an answer. We have enough evidence to say that is an answer, or we're far enough close to the proof where for me, that would be good enough. But what is that answer for you? What if there's a 49% chance that one is correct and there's a 51% chance that the other one's correct? Is that enough to say there's an answer? I don't know. But for years now, I've been trying to figure out which one is true. And like I said in my very first video, I'm a hopeful skeptic because I'm hopeful that heaven and hell exist. And I know many of you don't hold that same goal. And I've said very clearly that I don't like the idea of hell, but I really like the idea of eternity. I really like the idea of being more than just stardust. So I hope there's something that is eternal that exists, that isn't just quarks and atoms and energy and space. I hope there's some being out there, but I'm skeptical of that being existing. And so I'm on a search to figure out, does the evidence get us to an answer? And I invite you to join along in that search. Now, if you have input on my search, if you're searching as well and you've found conclusions or you've found answers, I invite you to put them in the comments and let's talk about it. Also, if you have ideas that you want to add to the coffee container, every day I pull out a random one and just shoot from the hip. These are not planned conversations. They literally are as if we were having coffee and you just said, hey, what do you think about this? And I'm hoping to have more and more of a community of people that want to dig into these topics. So if you have something that you want to put in this coffee container, put it in the comments and let's talk about it. But this has been day 14, the official 2-week close of the beginning of this channel's coffee chats. I invite you to subscribe, to like, to share if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, it's okay. But I hope to see you tomorrow for day 15. Cheers and have a fantastic day.